Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we are with the go-to parts girl, Kaylee Felio from PartsEdge. Kaylee, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks for having me. This has been such a great event. Thank you.
And I see you're really in the mode with yesterday's panel with the Roaring Twenties, and you got the headband going and the dress. So good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, this theme was really fun. I'm looking forward to more themes because it just adds more fun to it, when you can dress up a little bit.
I agree, and I can't wait to see who the audience votes for our best dressed awards. We've had these best practice awards, as you know, being a best practice winner, and now we're going to have best dress awards. So I think it's going to be really interesting. So
yeah, that'll be interesting.
So I want to talk to you about a couple things. Of course, your podcast. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the panel that you had on the roundtable yesterday. And it was not, Kaylee, you didn't just have a panel. You've graduated now to this new super panel category because you had some real high-powered talent on there. You had Mike Gass from Rick Case Automotive Group. And again, forgive me if I don't mention everybody, but Bill Demery from Tom Wood Automotive Group, Christian Guarte from Group One was on there, Holden Scott, Swickert Automotive Group, James Holloway, Mike Weldon from Hansel Automotive Group. I mean, it just goes on and on.
And Sean Butler. I think that was the last one. Yeah.
Finally, Sean Butler. And, we talked about recession proofing, parts and service and fixed ops. But Kaylee, it didn't sound to me like there was a recession in any of these stores.
No, not at all. And, I was kind of expecting to hear that just because how busy everyone's been. And it's great to hear the mindset that everyone has that, everyone's just, going forward. We're just going to keep calm and adapt and change. And, that's great to hear with this industry. And, the recessions don't scare us.
No, and you had, with these leaders, some of them have been through a couple downturns. And I think several of them said, we expect it to slow down a little, but not a lot to where it's going to, really upset the apple cart. And there's just so much. I heard the number, over 200 million vehicles. There's a lot of vehicles that are going to need parts and service.
There is. Yeah. And that's not stopping, and with not having as much new inventory, people are getting used cars and the average vehicle vehicle on the road has increased. So people are holding on. And that's one of the biggest things as they mentioned in the panel was, people are holding on to their vehicles, especially during recessions, because they don't want, during a recession, everyone just kind of stays calm and doesn't make any big changes. And buying a vehicle is a big change. So they'll pay the couple thousand to fix their car to keep it, is what I understand.
And I was really enthused by, you mentioned Sean Butler. Sean is not slowing down. He took over that store with new ownership. And, like Sean said, they're looking right now, if they can add people, technicians, they want to grow their team. And now is the time to do it, while others are saying, well, maybe there is something coming. We don't know how big or what that recession might be. Yeah. Sean was like, full steam ahead. Let's go. We're going to grow the business now.
Yeah. Yeah. And he has a perspective of, they went from not doing very well, so they're just going to keep doing better and better compared to what they were at. So they're in this really good position.
And one of the things I got from Tom Wood Automotive Group, Bill Demery, he mentioned, we were in the green room before we started talking, they were looking at some investment that they're looking at making in equipment. And we talked about tires, and we talked about, this did not sound like a group, Tom Wood Automotive Group, that's slowing down. That's another one. They're very proactive, and they're looking at now getting that technology edge. And we heard that in the panel as well.
Yeah, we did. And focusing on the team and training and including them on the business growth plans, investing there was no signs or what anyone ever, no one seemed scared. Everyone had this positive mindset and was like, you know, what they learned from previous recessions was adapting and going back and adjusting, not continuing to do the same thing, because you can't. Things are changing. So you're not going to get the same results, or you're going to get the same results if you keep doing the same thing.
And like you said, staying calm. You know, somebody had the analogy of the captain, you know, the ship. You know, even though the seas may be getting a little rough, you know, that captain does not show anything other than steadiness. You know, going back several months, Holden Scott, who I first met through your panel at PartsEdge here, you introduced Holden to the fixed ops community. And I was so impressed with this young man in that he's busy feeding his mindset with good information and making sure that he does that with his technicians and his staff. You know, let's talk about how important has that become now that you've seen in our industry?
I think that's become the forefront. Everyone is talking and focusing on that. And I think that's the biggest thing we've all learned through the pandemic, through recessions, is focusing on the people and your employees and your mindset, and really just, I think that's the biggest thing, is just focusing on your people, right? And I think every leader has a different style, but the biggest thing I think was reading books and sharing knowledge and mentoring has become a huge topic that everyone has been talking about, and with employees and growth.
If I was a young person getting into the business, I tell you, I would love working for any of the leaders that you've just had, including yourself, on the panel, because you all displayed that positive attitude, you know, that you're going to win and you're going to get through it. And Mike Weldon said, you know, don't panic, don't do that. And look, and you know, in just recent history, look what we got through, you know, in 2020, and that was a lot of uncertainty. Nobody had been through any of that.
Yeah, that was very different. Yeah, and we got through it. I always think of the flip side, though, of all these leaders, you know, that hold all that on their shoulders of, you know, I've got to be calm. I've got to, you know, I think there has to be a little bit of a balance of not, because you don't want to keep your cool too much. You know what I mean? Like, you have to share a little bit with your team. I think, because if you just take it all in on your shoulders, you're going to explode. So I think as leaders, there's a balance that kind of needs to happen. So that I wanted to make sure we said that, because, you know, I feel like leaders were like, we're strong, we can do it, you know, but you also need to share that other side, I think, too.
Sean Butler said it. Sean said that we got to be aware of mental health also, right? And, you know, be conscious of that. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to find out, or you will find out, but it'll be too late, right? So, and, you know, that's also been a big focus I've noticed in a lot of the things that I see, especially on social media, that focus on employees and their well-being. And, you know, we're seeing things now in the industry. I saw a dealer group going to a 4-day work week. And they're really now, you know, focusing on the employee, which is kind of the culture thing you've been, you know, the mantra that you've been talking about now for many, many months. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's another thing we've learned through being able to slow down with the pandemic. We also realized, you know, we were constantly going. And, you know, there was a few people that mentioned on the panel back in the day, or however long you want to say it, you did a job and that was what you did. But now there's a little bit of a shift where you can't really do that anymore. And you have to, I don't know the right way to say it, but basically, like, you know, treat your employees like they're humans and they have lives. Like, we have families, we have goals, you know, and I think that the dealership world had always been so like, you just work long hours and you just do the job and you just be quiet. Where I think that dealership world is kind of adapting and changing. That's great to see.
If you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about PartsEdge in the time that we've got. You know, PartsEdge has been around for a while, but now you have become, you know, the face of PartsEdge with the hashtag go to parts girl. Do people come to PartsEdge now and say, it's because of Kaylee. I want to speak to Kaylee. I want to deal with her. She's what brought the interest at our dealership. Has that happened?
Yeah, it has, and it's been a great feeling, and it kind of happened on accident. I wasn't going into all my efforts to be the face of PartsEdge. I just I'm in sales, so I'm like, how else can I get this word out there that what we do is great? And I just started following great people on LinkedIn and just taking what I liked about it and then implementing it my own way. So yeah, dealerships are wanting to work with us and wanting to talk to us, but I've structured it in a way of like, I'm your person in the beginning, but we have an awesome team that are parts experts that are going to take you there. Like I can't be that everything, I'll be there and we can talk and be friends, but I can't be that parts person for you, for everyone. So yeah.
This year you launched a podcast. Tell us a little bit about that, why you did that, what you're focused on there, and, tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, it's been shifting a little bit. So initially when I started it, I of course want the focus to be on parts, and because, not a lot of people are talking about that department or processes or ways to make things more efficient. So of course I named it the Parts Girl Podcast because that's my hashtag. And the reason why really is I started going on other people's podcasts, and it got me curious about what they were doing, and it built a relationship. So it was just kind of like, I want to do that too. I want to share other people's experiences. I want to build relationships. I want people to be curious about what I do. So I think that's really why, and it's evolved into just having a conversation. Really, I don't go into it with a huge topic or a list of questions. I'm just kind of like, let's have a conversation, and I ask questions. I kind of preset my questions in my head as I know who I'm interviewing, but then as we're talking, I think of other questions that I want to ask. So I don't know, it's been fun.
And I like the graphic you have of, yourself, you got the microphone and you've got the guest, but it's not just like a regular photograph of the guest. There's some artwork in there. Tell us how that kind of came about.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me about that. And that was just me realizing that I couldn't do it all. And so I hired a company to help me with the editing and creating. And it really, I wish it was me designing and doing that, but I didn't do it. and it, that's kind of the realization too, is like, as leaders or people, we think that we can do everything, and realizing it's okay to delegate some things and you can still be do awesome work. So it's really fun to see the cartoons of the people I interview.
All right. Well, I know there's going to be a lot more. Talk to us. What's ahead now for PartsEdge? What can dealers expect? I know you've been putting out a lot of good material that people have been able to download, in the past. What have you got going now? What should dealers be aware of? And, what's just another reason why they should reach out to the Go-To Parts Girl?
I think people should reach out if they're looking for another set of eyes, a different strategy for their parts management. We're doing a lot of great things with a lot of dealerships. And I will say the biggest thing that I'm hearing, and I actually posted about it recently, was dealers and parts managers are saying, where has PartsEdge been? Because I feel like when we have this conversation with the parts manager and the dealer in the same room as we're getting started, there's this there's this come together moment where they're like, we're going to be able to really speak the same language and accomplish so much because they have those tools to be able to accomplish it, I think is the biggest thing. And it's so great to see dealers in the room when we're talking to parts managers, because that didn't happen a few years ago. So.
And dealers are looking for best practices and ideas now, new ideas, fresh ideas, ideas that work. So Kaylee, what's the best way if our audience wants to reach out to you and learn more about Kaylee Felio and what PartsEdge can do for them? How do they do that?
LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, reach out to me there. That's always a great friendly way to do that. And then my email, Kaylee.Felio@PartsEdge.com. Go to our website because like you mentioned, we do have ebooks and resources. We are doing virtual online training now for parts managers. So it's there's a lot coming and a lot of growth happening. So it's very exciting.
And when does the podcast come out? When can we, what days do we look for that?
Every Friday, I release a new interview.
Okay. All right. So we love it. Kaylee Felio, we love what you're doing for parts, and you've brought parts to the forefront. So congratulations to you. Much success. We're going to see you back here in November. So we're excited about that. And,
thank you so much.
Thank you for all that you do for our
industry. Thanks for having me.
The go-to parts girl, Kaylee Felio from PartsEdge, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.